All right, this comes from Deadline. The very, I guess, famed kind of media outlet that covers a lot of things and film especially, but also music and just pop culture in general. But there's an article about Jason Blum, who is the CEO of Blumhouse Productions, which is, very famous for some of the most popular, most well-known horror movies that come out in like kind of this modern era of films, especially in that genre. But he's talking about M3GAN 2.0, which came out earlier this year, the follow up to M3GAN, which became this super viral, massive surprise hit that, kind of blew past everybody's expectations for the kind of reach it would have. But he talked about it. It came out earlier this year. It was pretty much a flop. It pretty much flopped. It was dead on arrival. It didn't really get much traction, and it did not seem to bring the crowds of moviegoers like the first one did. And you don't really hear people talking about it. Kind of came and went, and that was pretty much unexpected considering how big the first one had kind of grown to be. But as you can see from the title, Jason Blum of Pax, M3GAN 2.0 flop after treating her like Superman. Let's check this out. As M3GAN 2.0 struggles to live up to its original prototype, Blumhouse is taking stock of their latest box office loss, joking he's been in pain all weekend long after the sequel opened at 10.2 million, 17 million worldwide. I thought, you know what? If Blumhouse is in a slump, I'd like to tell that story. I don't want other people to tell that story, number one. One thing I will say is coming from the Town podcast, which I've never heard of, but, this is where the credit is due for this kind of interview. But one thing I will do respect about this is that this is the CEO, the head, the face of this major corporation organization. And they are doing, and he's doing the thing that you don't always see. He's taking the blame. He's going out in front of the criticism and audiences and giving an honest opinion in reaction to things as he sees them. You don't always get, these very candid moments from especially CEOs and heads of companies because they try to save face, they try to make things look prettier than they are. Basically, they try to, like the saying goes, they try to put lipstick on a pig, but he is not doing that here. He is coming straight out here and saying, yeah, it wasn't pretty, and here's why I think it happened, which is, very much appreciated in terms of getting that type of transparency and honesty. And number two, one of the things that is annoying about our business is everyone says, oh, I learned so much from failure. But when they're all actually in a situation when things are not going well, they sweep it under the rug. They pretend it's not happening. Noting that the sequel to the 2002 horror thriller was on track for 45 million opening 10 weeks ago, Blum admitted his team actually thought it had a chance of outgrossing F1's debut, which hit 57 million. This tells you how bananas tracking is in this current marketplace. I mean, for the simple fact that he thought M3GAN, as viral and as kind of popular it was the first one, could beat F1. This is a tentpole blockbuster Hollywood production with Brad Pitt. Who's other people in there? Damson Idris. What's the other one? I know there's like a huge cast of characters in there. Brad Pitt, Damson Idris, Javier Bardem, Kerry Condon, and just this Lewis Hamilton behind it. Like, obviously, like approaching this very popular sport that hasn't necessarily had a movie of this ilk or necessarily of this caliber on screen. So like this is a big moment for not just the actors in the Hollywood studio, but people who are also big fans of that sport. The fact that he thought M3GAN 2.0 would out surpass a movie with that kind of budget, that type of marketing, that kind of like push and audience already built in behind it, kind of shows you how delusional some of these studios and producers can be and why you get such huge losses and such huge like swings that never seem to pan out, or kind of like, damn, how did they not see that coming? Like, how like, why did you spend this much money when you make this, and like, how did it end up into this kind of big of a disaster? Well, you see in firsthand, because there's this sort of delusion that can happen fly to film studios and think like something like this could out surpass something like F1 and like, which did 57 million. So to out surpass that, you're talking like damn near 60 million opening weekend. You can see the kind of delusion that can happen within studios, and M3GAN was not immune from that clearly, because to think that he was going to be at F1 was kind of crazy. clearly there's a huge audience who's excited to go to the movie. The key is we can't figure out what movies they want to go see. As a projected opening declined to 30 million, Blum was fine with that number as the original opened to 30.4. But you also got to put in perspective. The first one opened to 30.4, which was a huge surprise at the time. I wouldn't be surprised to think that their projected openings around that time was probably around 10 million. And considering the budget was probably substantially lower than this one, that was a huge win. 30 for the second one, considering, I don't know, let's see how much they probably put into this, probably at least double, almost triple the amount that they put into the first one, because they thought they had a hit in something that could turn to a franchise. That 30 don't look so good compared to that first one. But as we keep going, as a projected opening declined to 30, that was fine, but the week of the release it dropped to 20 million. Then I was upset, he said, adding that he went on a death bout of depression before waking up to the final amount. So it's pretty amazing, and I think that it's a new thing about the marketplace. It's just very different, and it's incredibly hard to get your arms around. Obviously, projections and everything are always just conjecture, speculation. It's very hard to track and really determine exactly how many people are going to see your movie, just for the simple fact that you're basing it off of like social media interactions, ad viewership, all these very kind of nebulous things that are not very good representations of people's true intent. Yes, you can kind of gauge their interests, but that does not always translate, as we're finding out more and more, especially social media interests, does not necessarily translate to hard ticket sales. We all thought M3GAN, this is the interesting part I really want to talk about. We all thought M3GAN was like Superman. We could do anything to her. We could change genres. We could put her in the summer. We could make her look different. We could turn her from a bad guy into a good guy. And we kind of classically overthought how powerful people's engagement was really with her. Remember I said, a lot of these studios and a lot of these productions get into trouble because a lot of the people behind them, especially the ones putting money into it, get these huge delusions of grandeur. And this is the perfect example. He compared M3GAN to Superman. What? M3GAN, a new franchise, new property, just came out a couple years ago, has no real traction, has no real built-in audience or fan base that that has been proven to have followed this year after year. It's new. It's brand new. And to compare it to Superman, who's been around, at least 50, 60, 70 years, maybe even 100 years by now, and has like this storied following, has countless movies, TV shows, comic books, toys. It is synonymous with superheroes. Literally, it is the superhero. Superman is the superhero at the end of the day. And to think that something like M3GAN is comparable to Superman just shows you how deluded they were in the making of this and the marketing of this. But let's continue. He thought he could change genres. That is, to me, when I think about why this movie flopped and why it didn't do as well as the first one did, or nearly get as much traction or people excited for it, is because this simple fact right here, this line right here, we could change genres. Why? Why would you do that? Why would you mess with something that is super successful, that was already successful, that had people excited for, that actually had people enjoying? Why would you change up the formula? Not only like multiple movies down the line, but the immediate follow-up. Like you just enter an entirely different genre with no setup, no kind of exploration of different aspects of this character before, just diving straight into it and be like, we know this is what you liked. We know this is why you were excited. We know it's why you came here, but we're going to do something completely different. Like that makes no sense to me. Like, why would you kind of think that that would work? To change genres, which we will watch trailer in a second, to change genres from what was a very 90s-esque, almost slapstick horror film that was just fun in the sense that, yes, there were horror elements, yes, there were some scary elements, but it was still very much built on personality and fun and just the thrill ride of it all, when I compared M3GAN 2 was a 90s film such as Child's Play or Gremlin, or even some of the later like Freddy Krueger movies, where yes, you get some horror elements, but the comedy and just the absurdity of it all is what had people excited and coming back, because it was just a fun ride. But to take this hard shift into action, into making her some sort of like superhero, and abandoning all of the more gory, hardcore, even scary elements for this straight action movie, seems like there was something sorely missed when they were writing this movie, because I don't see how you could make that kind of change. Yes, Freddy Krueger leaned into the comedy and the humor and really kind of shied away from the more scary elements, but they were still there. Yes, Chucky became like this character, this personality, this humorous, almost anti-hero in his movies, but there were still some horror elements at the core of what it was. And even as those movies continue to change and evolve and kind of get further and further away from their original film's intents and kind of themes and just tones, they started losing money. They started losing money, and they started losing their audiences. And then what happened when they rebooted? They tried to get them back, but it was too late. So I feel like he took the wrong lessons from a lot of those movies that came before and tried to apply it and trying to jump the shark, so to say, and kind of speed run it to like these bigger bucks that you can get from like an action movie that is more appealing to a wider audience, instead of catering to the exact audience that you had already built for this movie. Delusional. Straight delusional. Blum partially chalked up the various genre swap from horror / thriller to action comedy. Exactly. As well as summer release. Yeah, so I mean, at the core of all of this, he seems to be Jason Blum right here. Blum seems to be blaming most of this on the genre shop. And while I do think that is huge aspect of why people did not connect with this one, why people weren't clamming for this one, why people kind of felt like, I don't know if it's worth the money and my time to go see this in theaters, is because of that reason. Like, you really kind of subverted the expectations of everybody, which at some times and some points can be good, because you can deliver just something to people that they didn't even know they wanted. But when you fully abandon the core premise and principles of what made your thing so popular in the first place, there is no other way but down to me. And I think he learned that lesson. They learned that lesson the hard way, that you have to build a franchise. You have to build these elements into your franchise before you fully abandon what got you there in the first place. Very much similar to what DC and James Gunn tried to do, where they tried to copy the MCU and they tried to speed run it straight up to, it took 10 years first to get the Avengers. They tried to do it in two movies. They tried to get to their Justice League in 2 movies. They didn't build up characters. They didn't build up story. They didn't build up lore. They didn't build up buy-in from their audiences. And look what happened. It flopped spectacularly. And they are finding this out the hard way. Like, you cannot speed run this. You have to, at least to some degree, cater to the audiences that were already there from the jump. And to think that this movie was going to beat out F1 was kind of crazy to begin with, because as kind of viral and successful as the first one was, I think that had more so to do with some of the very viral comical moments that were seen through social media, through memes, through people imitating it, more so than people thoroughly loving and enjoying this movie. Because I've seen it. It was kind of whatever. But to kind of like further drive home the point of just how much they shifted and changed from their first go around, let's watch these trailers and you'll see the stark difference between these two. This is the trailer for M3GAN 2.0.
How do I say goodbye?
I'll admit, there were some bugs in my programming.
What the hell?
It's hardly fair to blame me for that.
So hard to say goodbye.
Right there. That main scene with their dancing, with all the kind of wacky, weird movements that were being used in memes and reels and TikToks and just went super viral on social media, was a huge driver of this first one. Let's be real.
But one thing hasn't changed. I will do whatever it takes to protect Katie. What the hell is this? You put me in this plastic Teletubby?
Prove you can be trusted, maybe we'll give you an upgrade.
Mrs. Forrester, we have a problem. We're hunting an autonomous android named Amelia. She was built using your design for M3GAN.
How's this possible? We deleted it.
Apparently you didn't. Nothing in our arsenal can stop her. She's gone rogue, killing anyone who's contributed to her creation.
I think I did it up.
And you and Katie are next.
I know how to stop Amelia. She's getting more powerful. Soon she'll be the most dangerous weapon on the planet. Put me in a body and I'll help you stop her.
You remember what happened last time. You threatened to rip out my tongue and put me in a wheelchair.
I was upset.
Look, she wants to help us. Everyone deserves a second chance.
You would like us to rebuild a deranged robot in order to catch another one.
Would you prefer I gave you a printout that you can read at your own pace?
Okay, M3GAN, time to give you an upgrade. Anything you'd like to add?
I want to be stronger, faster. Hey, so remember the time I strangled you and set the lab on fire? I want you to know that won't happen again.
Thank you so much.
And while you're at it, make me taller. All right, meat sacks, let's get to work.
Well, look who came out to play.
I was programmed to protect Katie. The only question is, are you going to stand in my way?
Like,
Hey, bro, come on now, dog.
we went
Come
from
on, man.
killer AI robot doll or AI robot doll that turned into a killer and kind of, you know, that very tried and true kind of story trope to wingsuiting through a canyon AI superhero robot. Like, and we wonder why this movie flopped.
Hold on to your vaginas.
I don't care if she did kill 4 people. She is a smoking hot
Hold on to your vaginas is a fucking crazy line. That is a crazy line.
warrior princess.
I'll make you a deal. You can kill Gemma, but don't touch Katie.
M3GAN,
Yeah, like clearly different. Let's watch the first trailer so you can really see just how much they shifted tones and just completely changed what was working.
Katie, you lost your parents.
Welcome home.
You're my niece. I'm gonna do everything I can to make this place feel like home.
Just wish I could see them again.
I'm not equipped to handle this. I don't even take care of my own plants. I have this project at work. Do you want to see?
Yes.
Ever since I was little, I dreamed of this perfect toy that would protect a kid from ever feeling lonely or sad. This is M3GAN.
Hi, M3GAN. I'm Katie. It's nice to meet you, Katie. Do you want to hang out? Okay.
M3GAN, your goal is to protect Katie from harm, both physical and emotional.
Is that a doll?
Model 3 generative android. M3GAN for short.
I can't believe you made this. I love it.
Wanna hang out, yeah, sounds like fun.
Great job.
It's nice to have a friend.
It's honestly like she's part of the family now.
They could be building emotional connections that are too hard to untangle.
Like, when I see this, because I haven't seen this in a while, this came out, like, in what, 2 years ago, 2022, this kind of movie, whatever, somewhere around there. When I look back at this, I just think yeah, you super fumbled the bag because they were kind of ahead of their time. Like, yes, AI and robotics were always a thing. And like, yes, they were part of the conversation. AI is so much part of the conversation nowadays. It's so much at the forefront of everything. And you have this built-in character who is literally AI gone wild, gone rogue, gone whore, gone serial killer, which is pretty much a concern for a lot of people that have any kind of knowledge about AI. And instead of like doubling down and tripling down on that and really building out the kind of concerns that people have about AI and the potentials of it going wrong and like really preying on the fears that are already built in with your audience, you went action comedy? Like, huh? Now that I'm really watching this, like, who was making decisions over there? Who was approving these storylines? Who was approving this change in tone when you have like this huge built-in interest and fear from your audience already there? People are already worried about AI. And robots turning evil has been such a tried and true moneymaker in storytelling for so long that you have a winning formula. And instead of doubling down on that, you just went left field. You deserve the flop. You deserve the flop. Let's keep it real.
She's the happiest she's been since her parents died. Eat the toppings, Katie.
Research shows if you force a child to eat vegetables, they'll be less likely to choose those foods as adults.
Is that so?
Yes. Experts say...
M3GAN, turn off.
Literally like ChatGPT. Literally. ChatGPT gone killer. Like, it writes itself.
I thought we were having a conversation.
Does she talk? Make her say something.
Stop! Don't! Megan! You should probably run. Megan, she pushed Brandon onto the road. I won't let anything harm you.
M3GAN, turn off.
Recalibrating response model. Megan! What's wrong with you? Don't worry, Katie. I won't let anything harm you. Ever again.
Oh, they fumbled the bag. They fumbled the bag big time. What you went from what could have been like this new age fun slapstick horror, much in line with like Chucky and Freddy Krueger and all that could build out a franchise that could be a character feature for Blumhouse, which, let's be real, as good as they are and as like kind of mainstay they are in terms of modern horror, and like they are the modern horror house. The fact that they don't really have one go-to character, they kind of had Annabelle, but that kind of fell off. Like, this could have been the one for you that could have carried you for the next at least decade in terms of films and audiences and fan bases. But to like try to speed run that all and fumble the bag as hard as this, yeah, that shit's got to sting. That's got to sting. So I understand why he wanted to come out and address this, because I'm sure that's been eating at him, like how they were able to fuck this up this badly when literally you had just so many things playing into your favor, and instead of like capitalizing on that, you just failed.